Hey guys, it's Julian. Today I'm going to be talking to you about how to make minimal garage house in the style of Shanti Celeste. As usual, you can get the full project file, samples, MIDI, and presets. Everything like that from this video is available at the top of the description, and if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it's already available. And yeah, let's get started. Alright, so we're at 140 BPM, pretty fast for house music, but that's part of what gives this that more sort of like garage vibe. It's just a faster, kind of more intense tempo like that really helps for that vibe. And the first thing that we have here is this vocal shot, which sounds like this. So you can see, this is the pattern that it's playing. It's actually a pretty simple one. You can see, we're just kind of walking up this minor scale here. We have our root note, our minor third, our fourth, and then our fifth. So just really straightforward notes, but just having that constantly. It's almost like a musical, or like a melody drone. For the sound, it's made using just a one shot of a vocal. You can use almost any sound for this. Pretty much what you want to go for, though, is a vowel. So, you can even do this yourself. You can just go, oh, and then record that. But we just have that in the simpler there. And then you can see that is going through a bit of echo. I've also got it pitched up an octave. It's going through a bit of echo and some reverb. You can really hear that echo giving it some kind of nice rhythm. Then we have a bit of drum bus, just beefing the whole thing up. And then we have a high pass filter. And that is it for the vocal shot. Then we have this little chord stab. You can see the notes that this is playing are actually really simple. It's pretty much just the C and then G. But then what makes this interesting is, well, for one, how it's fitting into the track, because you can hear it's very just kind of, you just hear it once every bar pretty much. It's just a little dun dun. It's not doing too much and taking up too much space, but also the way that we made this sound is actually a bit interesting. So you can see what's happening is we're using this chord here. So this is a great way to create these kinds of chords, because basically what it says is whatever note you play, it's going to also play that however many notes up that you specify on here. And this way we can create these chords that you could just play like that across the keyboard. And this is something I've heard in a lot of her tracks, and just in general in the style, it's a really good way to create the chords. And then the other thing that makes this sound interesting is just the actual sound. You can see it's a pretty simple FM sound here with operator, 2 sine waves, but what makes it interesting is how it's very metallic and very bright and sharp. And yeah, this is something that I've noticed that you really want to try to play up. And essentially the secret to this is that I have this first oscillator an octave up from the second one. By doing that, if I put it down, see how it's a bit smoother? But then when we put it up, you can even get more, as you can see, by bringing it up even higher. It gives it that kind of metallic texture to it. So that is essentially really cool for this style. It works really nicely to have these kind of cold metallic FM sounds with the nice groovy deep house. And yeah, then that's just going through a low pass filter with a bit of an envelope. Then you can see we just have some echo and reverb, giving the sound some space, and then some drum bus, which is making it just really fat and really full sounding, and also bringing out the space. And then we just have a high pass filter to clean it up. And yeah, then we have this choir. So it's just playing 2 chords. You can see it's just a C minor 9 and a G minor 9. So yeah, just having these minor 9 chords, it creates a lot more vibe and character in the music. I think it's really important with the style of a track to do something like that. You don't want to just use basic major and minor chords. It's just gonna not really have enough vibe to it. But you can hear this just sounds really nice and smooth and jazzy with these chords. And the way we're making the sound with this one is just with this choir sample. So yeah, you can see it's just like a sample of like a and then I have it inside of a sampler here. It's being looped, so that's how we're making this like endless sound. You can see I'm also using the fade to make that loop really smoothly. And yeah, then we just have a bit of chorus and some reverb on it to give it some space. You know, you can hear those. We have some drum bus, which is beefing it up and making it really fat. I also have a compressor sidechaining this to the kick. Since it is just playing the whole way through, if I turn that sidechain off, you can hear it can kind of make the mix a bit messy, but if we turn it back on, it just fits in there nicely. And then finally, we just have a high pass filter to get rid of the low end and make sure this doesn't get in the way of like the kick and bass. And yeah, and then the next thing that we have down here, and the last sort of melodic sound, is this FM chord, which sounds like this. So basically you can see that the way this is being made is I actually took the same MIDI from that choir that I just showed you, and then what we're doing is I've just taken like little chunks of it, like this, and then this chord. And then we just have them hitting kind of at different times so that you basically have the choir constantly going, and then this little FM chord here just comes in and gives you like these sort of like blasts of high end like this. So yeah, for the sound with the FM chord, it's made using operators. So this is actually kind of similar to that first FM chord stab I showed you, where you can see it's 3 sine waves here. The thing with this one is I have a lot of attack. It's like fading in. Like that, like, yeah. And that's really important with this one, just having it kind of like, so that it comes in like, rather than just, like right in your face. And you can see the second oscillator is an octave up. I have a little bit of a low pass filter on here, which has that same attack to it. And yeah, that's just kind of like, to make it a bit smoother, kind of just roll off some of those like sharper highs. Then we just have a bit of chorus and some reverb, giving the sound some space. I have my ultimate stereo widening rack on here as well, which is spreading it out. And this is really helping to kind of make that high end a bit wider, which helps to make this stand out from the choir and not just get kind of like lost in there. Then we just have actually 2 high pass filters, which I guess we can just get away with one. I probably just accidentally duplicated that. But yeah, that is the FM chord. Then we have the bass line. So yeah, you can see the bass line is pretty simple. This is probably the most garagey quote unquote thing about this track. This and like the percussions. So you can see it's just based around this, mostly just around C here. And then it's really about the groove and just like how it's all like, you know, fitting into the overall track. It's a very bouncy bass line, and there's lots of syncopation. Now for the sound, it's made with 2 layers, and this is like a super classic garage sort of bass sound that I hear in a lot of her tracks. So it's this layer, and then the sub layer. So for the mid layer, it is what we would call a donk bass. So a donk bass is basically this FM bass where you can see it just has this like pluck to it. You can see the envelope. And yeah, you can also see oscillator 3s on there. But yeah, that's how you create a donk bass. It's using FM synthesis in a very similar way to how we use it on that chord stab up top, where it's just a quick, plucky sound, and then you play it super low. And that's the sound. And then that's just going through a high pass filter to make sure it's not going to clash with the sub. while still letting through most of the low end. And then the sub. It's just a sine wave. So it's just, putting that nice fat sine wave underneath there to make the low end really work. And then we're gluing those two together and making the bass a lot fatter using this drum bus. So here's without it. And then with it, you can hear that just kind of making those really fat and full sounding together. And then we have our 909 kick. And yeah, so this is a style of kick that you want to use in these tracks is like a 909 kick. And then you just kind of take it and tweak it in different ways, or use like different styles in them. Like maybe one track you might use one that's very, very punchy with like a high pitch envelope. A lot of times you use one like this, which is a bit more boomy and just like a really, really punchy 909 kick with lots of transient, as you can see. But yeah, it's typically going to be a 909 kick, because that's just going to work really well in this style of track to just like really punch through and create a nice foundation for the groove. And then that's just going through a bit of saturation. And then I have the kick and the bass going through a bit of saturation together as well, just to really get that fullness and to really glue the low end together. Without it, and then with it. So, subtle, you may not even entirely notice it's there, but when you turn it off, you do notice. And yeah, then we have the hi-hat, as I have aptly named this group. So, we have like our different hi-hats. We have this one, married together with this one. So you can hear we get the nice like sizzle from this, with the punch from this. And then we just have like our little extra background hi-hats too. And then on the group of those, everything's just going through a bit of reverb and some saturation to beef it up. And then the last thing down here is the percussion, which is just 3 of them. You can hear, so we have our nice, like, very punchy, quick clap like this, and then just this little rim shot and the snare. Just to give it a little bit of kind of driving percussion. And you can really hear how those play off of the hi-hats. When you start to listen to these layers one by one, you really hear the garage in it, and you can hear like how that influenced this style of groove and how you can take that and kind of make your own thing with it as well. And then on the group of that percussion, it's just a bit of drum bass, so here's without it. And then with it, it's just tying all the percussion together. And yeah, so that is it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of the video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get the full project files, samples, MIDI, presets. Everything from this video is available right at the top of the description, and if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there, because it's already available. And yeah, thank you so much, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video.